anybody knew that thing that he was doing over there is going to affect them, right? So they just saw it as, okay. And now they started seeing pipeline are passing through their farm. You would also want to, in this argument, consider things like oil spillage. You will not say a company who is drilling will go and cut or vandalize this pipe, right? So at one point, the community also has a role to play in that. Also knowing that if oil spillage will happen, as much as it reduces the barrel of production, which will mean that they would have to drill more because they want to meet the target, those spillage or leakage will also affect the farm directly, right? And so that's why I said at one point we have to. But
then the oil spillage, they're apart from people who are outright vandals and criminally minded, there is some sort of reason, if you ask them, why people would say, you know what, let's just go and vandalize these things and spill oil, get some for ourselves. It's from the feeling of de-enfranchisement that they have, that we've been served. We're not getting what we should be getting.
No, but it's not about, in as much as it's there, but it's equally based on low awareness, because if you know the effect,
the consequence of that action.
There's a PIA law now that has even augmented all those things.
No, even with the PIA, first of all, the day I had, I think Nigeria is actually one of the only countries that people vandalize oil pipeline. It's so interesting. And that's why you see that most of the oil companies are leaving the oil so that they'll be
able to divesting. They're just like.
When you do that, you cause environmental serious damage. That's where even this Methane we are talking of, you are saying Methane, you are free to go anywhere you want to go. And I actually want us to, when we talk of this Methane, let's bring it down to that is actually the main cause of climate change. That's why anything you talk of the heat period, the effect on agriculture, methane from the extractive oil and gas sector is actually the main cause of climate change. That of agriculture is not as much
secondary compared to that.
And I mean industries, transport, those ones are not as for me, I would like to say both we need really actually create enough awareness. Enforcement have to be from the regulators and compel the companies to actually find a way of adopting technologies that help reduce that methane emission.
All right, we've got a few minutes to wrap up our conversation with Paul and Kende on how this should be a shared concern for us when we talk about methane gas emission in the country. Now, if you are from the Niger Delta region or a community where there's a lot of exploration going on and you have any concern as to how it's impacting on life and environment, you can call us and share that with us. And, also perhaps let us know the level of awareness of the people as to the impact of methane gas emission or greenhouse gas emission their everyday life. Because I'm glad that from this conversation we know that people have realized that, this is impacting on us, on our health. Aside from the oil spillage, which is a common one that we see glistering on the surfaces of water and affecting fish and all of that. The one that your eye cannot see is also posing a threat. And I'm glad that people know from conversations, even in all the workshops and all of that, it's obvious that community, they're waking up. They know. And that's why when a community sees another oil exploration company coming or set up, they quickly interface with them like, no, these are the rules and all of that. So it's a good one. So as we start to wind down the conversation, we have about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If you want to call us, call quickly, 0700-951-0000 or 0809-5974-869, or you can call 0809-993-0137. 2030 is the deadline. We shifted the goalposts before, and now we're saying, let's give ourselves a bit more time and hope to God that we get there.
2030 is just 5 years away.
5 years.
I mean, because we said it's 2030 like...
No, I actually appreciate the optimism that
what do you think these gentlemen are doing here? All the travel to Bayelsa and everywhere to ensure that we do meet it.
Yes, I mean,
just one tenure for someone, but
but you can come in and with strong policy manage. Even we might not get to zero, but with the right political will and regulatory will from the regulator, you can actually get.
I mean, up until 2023. $2 for 10,000 standard cubic feet of emission is a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, that's why I said, I mean, that's
that penalty.
You ask yourself, let me do this and pay the penalty, what is in there? So, I mean, it's the cost is not commensurate with the effect on the industry. But to be fair to them, I mean, there's been a reduction to some extent.
I mean, in 2020, 22 and 23, the significant drop shows that it's doable.
It's doable, yeah. I think... I always say that I think we need to form a more localized framework such that our ideology about regulation is not what the EU or the UN or the are telling us.
Right.
Can we form a very localized framework that whether we even have to demystify that localization of framework such that what is operational in Bayelsa is different from what is operational in Cross River or Delta, and everybody understands their role and function to what they want to do within that system. I think that might probably help us in curbing some of these issues.
But perhaps more noise needs to be made as regards the climate effects of these things. I don't think, I'm thankfully for the efforts like your organization is putting into it, but the more realization that this is a critical problem. When people begin to tie these things to climate and how it then affects other areas of our lives as human beings, I think maybe then the conversation would even shoot up higher when we talk about this problem.
No, but like what I said, I mean, if you are even talking of methane, you should be talking of climate change. What are the real I mean, it's so that when you make it concrete, people were able to relate and appreciate. But if you call the name methane, they will say, what is that? And when you tell that person that the increase it in your area was because of that, the lack of rain in some desertification in some areas is as a result of that. The increase in a lot of things you are doing in terms of economic costs is as a result of that.
Breaking down.
And you know, if you know that climate change relates to even transportation, residential building, it relates to oil and gas, it relates to power sector, power generation. Why are people decide that? I mean, we should be talking of green technology, green energy. Those are a result of trying to curb climate change, which is the main trigger. And the main cause of that climate change is methane that we are talking of.
Indeed. Well, we can go all day talking about this and the impact it's having on environment, health, and or. We've talked about what the regulators are doing and the fact that more can be done, the oil companies, and also even Europe, looking at people who are buying off of us to saying if they're coming with a position on how they want methane reduction significantly, if we do not comply, it will affect our market also. So aside from home, if we're not very concerned about the impact it's having on the health and the environment and the global contribution to global warming, we should even think about how it's going to affect our trade and business in the future. So gentlemen, in 30 seconds each, anything to add before we wrap up the conversation?
For me, I mean, it's that there should be a concerted effort by the government, by the regulators, by the communities, by the climate experts and advocates to push and for awareness, to push for enforcement, to push for regulation, to push for reduction in methane emissions, so that the idea of climate change will live in a safer world for sustainability, both in our agriculture, both in our fishery, both in our the economic impact and the economic analysis, and most especially the health of the community and the interest of the host communities that those companies are domiciled in.
Indeed.
I think mine will just be around the responsiveness of government to this particular issue. Starts from things like budgeting, fiscal accountability, right? Beyond saying or going to other countries to just sign agreements, what are you putting in your own countries that makes sure that at least if we don't meet the target by 2020, we're at least halfway there, right? So how is the government responding to that? Then the flip side to that will not be that the communities or these oil companies, do they also understand that target that we're trying to meet? So that it's not that the government is trying to say something and people at the forefront of it are not even understanding it. So how do we bring everybody into one room and create one system of understanding? I love what NRGI is doing. Right, trying to partner with a lot of organizations, partner with journalists, and see that, okay, everybody can be in one community. We understand, we will pass the message around and begin to spread. Gradually, if one person is changing, that change can almost affect on everyone.
Yeah, so big ups to NIGR, Data Fight, Palladium. They also work with PLSI on it also, because I know Mr. Shogun has been here some time back. We had this conversation also. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it, and we'll see what comes out of the FOI. We have to go to court to get information out of the companies at the end of the day. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you stopping by to share a bit of your thoughts and finding with us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. All right.